And so that's a perfect pivot to introducing Beatriz. She is the founder of Triumph Steps, a longtime member of our chamber and a psychotherapist, but she's also somebody that has reached out to us, like many of our members, with their expertise and saying, how can I be helpful? And we did something with her last week on mental hygiene, which we'll talk about. But it's my pleasure to introduce and welcome to this episode of our podcast, Trowbiz, Beatriz Martinez Peñalver. Beatriz, welcome.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. I feel so happy to be here. Let me tell you that the first time I ever saw you, actually the first meeting I ever attended for the Gables when I joined a few years back, you were doing one of your first Friday of the month, the Trowbridge, what do you call that? The
Trowbiz,
yeah. Trow whatever meets CEO. And I didn't know anybody. I didn't know you. And then when I walked out of there, I was like, oh my God, this chamber is so awesome. They even bring professional radio people here to do these interviews. I really thought you were a professional at doing this. I was like, this is amazing.
That's so cute.
I
just work here, but I will tell you, there are days that, I run into people around town who are in the creative arts, and I always want to give them my headshot. And they always tell me the same thing. You really have a face for radio. So you look lovely. I know we're doing this via Zoom, so I get to see you as well as talk to you. How are you holding up? Tell me how you're doing. You're in this business of helping folks really be centered and healthy. How's that going?
Well, Mark, I think the more tools you have, the more prepared you are for something like this. However, you are never prepared for something like this. It's huge. It's something that I would have never in a million years, if somebody would have told me, oh, this is going to happen in your lifetime, I would say you're watching too many science fiction movies and it's just not going to happen. I would have said that's absolutely not. We personally, I think, we're doing fine. And my home, I think we're handling it. But I think it's everybody else, right? I have a community mental health center. We have 20 plus staff members. It had to be a complete switch from one day to the next to telemedicine. Then there are people that don't know how to do it. And then there are the other ones that are giving up. And then the other ones that are freaking. So it's everybody. It's a huge toll. It's your family, and then it's your community, and then it's your nation. So it's really hard. We have the professionals trying to go out there and see the patients, telemedicine, but then we have a lot of our clients are families, right? Young kids, and then, some of them have to be using one of the phones while the other one is working, so they can't connect. I mean, it's all sorts of different issues. Then they don't know how to connect to the because we have to do a HIPAA compliant platform. And so they don't know how to connect. And it's just one thing after the other, Mark.
Gosh, I didn't even think about that. But from a confidentiality standpoint, obviously, that is incredibly important under HIPAA. You can't just be like we are today, 4 screens like the Brady Bunch. You have to do it in a way that's,
right.
HIPAA compliant, but also professional and protects the integrity of the process.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of things that.
So who's home with you? I know before we got on, you talked about your husband. Is he? First of all, he's delightful, but is he behaving himself?
Oh, my husband. You know that my husband has not found this to be, changing his life a lot because he's worked from home for many years already. He goes to 2 hospitals to do consults, right. But his big thing is working from home. So he's a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And he's been doing telemedicine for many, 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 many years. I think it was one of those first companies that started doing psychiatry. And so what he does is he's the emergency room psychiatrist for 30 plus states in the country. I don't even know how many hospitals they have. So he's licensed.
He was ahead of his time in a way.
Yeah, and so what he does is he connects to emergency rooms all over, and then he sees the patients, the doctors in the ER, point out, okay, this is a patient that needs a consult, and then those are the patients that he sees, and he decides if the patient needs to be admitted or discharged or what they need to do with that. So for him, hasn't been really that big of a change.
Yeah,
when he goes to a hospital, it's a big change for me.
Yeah, but I'm thinking that even the patients that are coming in, first of all, some of the healthcare workers are in crisis because they're dealing with such unknown. They're dealing with concerns about, personal protection equipment. In addition to the patients who are coming in either with COVID-19 and coronavirus symptoms, but normal symptoms. I mean, I think about people. I have a friend whose wife's having a baby in a week, and I'm thinking, where's that going to happen? And you just get this idea that all the beds are full, and not just here in South Florida, but he must be seeing, much like you are, these sort of increased anxieties.
So it is such a change for everybody, right? Somebody who's going to have a baby, you have to go in, and your husband cannot go in. I think that's how it is. You just go in and you cannot see anybody until you get out. Before you had your baby and you want your husband there and you have your parents and, you want to, but none of that. Not
when I was born. I think my father was at work, back in 1968. It was like, call me when he arrives. Oh, not even he, because you didn't know. You're like, call me when the baby arrives, right? It's sort of barbarian. Now everybody's now everybody has the date scheduled and you know when to show up, and somebody blew pink out of a cake. And yeah. Well, I have to tell you, your smile is just so huge. It makes me very warm to think that, you're doing okay. And you're the right person in this moment for us to be talking to, but also your clients must be very comforted when they connect with you.
It's tough for everybody. It's really tough for everybody. And I personally do not see clients, but our office does. So I have a team of therapists, and they're all the ones connecting really directly with them. I'm actually trying to connect with, in a bigger audience right now through videos. So something that I had never done before. I said, you know what? I really need to give a lot of tools to a lot of parents and people out there. So I started to I had a YouTube channel for a while that I had never been active on. And I said, let me just start putting videos right there to help those parents.
We saw those. And we were like, those are awesome.
So yes, so that's what we're doing right now to do our part, Mark, because I think we really, when we say we are all on this together, we really need to be together now more than ever, and really sharing our talents for the good of all. And that's really, truly how I've been looking at this whole thing, right? I believe that what we're going through here, Mark, is a grieving process. This is a huge grieving process. So it's like, imagine when everybody who's come to see me throughout the years, they come to see me because of a big loss, usually, right? Or either a relationship, problems with, their husband, their children, something big is happening, a loss of somebody has. Well, now, to me, this right now is the loss of somebody, of something very special, but in the entire community, in the entire nation, right? So it's traumatic everywhere. It's like you don't know truly even how to guide somebody, because right now what they're looking for is just the basic things. Now it's job, and the worries are how am I gonna feed my children next week, and those type of things. So it's really a big grieving period. And now grieving periods have stages, and depending on how strong you are, how mentally fit you are, you're going to go through that process much faster or not, right? So we're going to go through the first period is like that shock and denial, and then you have anger as being a part of it, and then the later stages is acceptance. And I guess the fastest we go through those stages and we get to really accepting that this is how this is happening right now, and we just need to, then the later stage is finding meaning. I think that truly is going to be the silver lining to all this. And to me, I just really hope, and this is what I'm pushing for, that families, parents, that all of us are really looking at this period as a transformative period. It's like, what do we find? What is the meaning in this whole situation? For somebody, maybe, you know what? My family was kind of being neglected, and it's actually really cool to work from home and do the things that we can always look at things in different ways. So it's really going through that grieving stages and working through them, but finding those, getting to those last two stages as fast as we can, having really healthily worked the early ones.
So that's a fascinating thought process, because I maybe didn't think about it that way. But, I was talking with one of our members yesterday, and I said, and I'll share personally that most days I'm somewhere between being frustrated and being heartbroken. And there's not a lot of space in between there, because frustration create some of those emotions that are very heartbreaking. And mine comes from a very simple place that, from the day that I walked in here 14 years ago, you do a good job because of the way you connect with people and the way you connect with their own stories and their own businesses. And when I drive here or drive down Ponce de Leon and I see every storefront dark, notes in the door that says, we'll hopefully be back, or you end up being able to talk to some of them because they reach out. Everybody's story is unique, but the underlying issue is that they're suffering from loss too. And so you take that on you, because that's somewhat my personality, but I'm not used to that in such a substantial way. And so I'm suffering a little bit too with that.
Absolutely. So it's time. It's like, I'm comparing your story right now to the therapy story, right? It's like we're there listening to all the issues of everybody, but now, and we have to build the skills to really be able to do that. And I have to say that, I've been in mental health for over 25 years, so you kind of learn those tools. But for you right now, and I know exactly what you're saying, because I on Sunday I went walking with my husband, and we walked all Miracle Mile, and we went to Giralda, and it is heartbroken. And that's when you realize how much you need to really get to yourself and do a lot of the mental hygiene tips. Really practice that self-care. Otherwise, you get depleted and you're not going to be able to be a support for those businesses.
We'll talk a little bit more about that. You did some tips for us that we shared earlier. This is obviously a more expanded conversation, but what I liked about it is it was relevant to anybody and everybody. It didn't matter your age, what your immediate issue was, or if you think you're doing okay, it's still a good opportunity to kind of take stock.
Mm-hmm. It's everybody. The thing is that we have never really given the importance of mental hygiene, mental wellness, emotional literacy. I like to call it all different ways, because we have a little bit of stigma when we talk about mental health. We think it has to be crazy. I just wish that we could really speak about this area, understanding that it is as normal as brushing your teeth, right? That's why I like to call it mental hygiene.
I hope people are doing that more than usual. You've got plenty of time to get in there.
So it's mental hygiene. I always tell, my patients and the children I work with is, it is something that you need to be doing consistently. You don't just do it, when I go to schools and try to bring emotional leaders into schools, and they ask me, how long do you do this program for? Is it just a week, 2 weeks? I was like, how long do you teach math for? Do you teach them this a week? No, this is a foundation for absolutely everything in life, Mark. And the mental hygiene that we need now is, more needed than ever. So I tell people, listen, they're basic things. If we're not staying, and it's hard to stay in the now, because the now it's such a, difficult area. but you have right there your office with AC, with, with the computer to connect with people with, really cold, how you love it. So there's still a lot of things that we can really kind of look at and focus on the things that we can be grateful for. People tell me, if you were to tell me 2 or 3 things, the main things I could do right now, that would be helpful to me. And I'm going to talk to you, Mark, because since you were saying I walk, the streets and I see that, and it's so incredibly overwhelming and heartbroken. It's like, what do? You need to do your own self-care, because if you really want to be there for those businesses and pick up the phone and just maybe, even if you don't have a solution right now, just be that ear that's going to hear them. That alone is something that is priceless for a lot of people, right? It's you, Mark, the person who's been out there in the community, who's been helping, and now you have that ear, and it's very meaningful for people. But you have to be healthy yourself, right? You have to do some of this self-care. So if people were going to tell me what are the 2 or 3 things that, I can't, you have way too many tips, I just want 2 or 3, I would say, okay, you know what? More than anything right now, we need to meditate. And people's like, meditate? I haven't done that ever in my life. How do I do that? Well, there are little simple tips that we can do. And I'm going to do a brief YouTube video on the basic things that you need to do to meditate, so they don't get discouraged. But get that if meditation sounds like too complicated for you, when people tell you just, take a few minutes just to breathe and relax and connect, but connect with an intention. I always teach my patients, my clients, my students to do it with an intention, not just, okay, I'm going to breathe. Okay, what's your intention? Your intention is to feel more calm at this point. Your intention is to feel more fulfilled. Anything that you're lacking at that moment, it's truly what you need to be asking for. So if it is to not feel heartbroken, then I need to feel strong, right? I need to really connect and fill up my cup with strength and optimism and hope. And that's what I need to be meditating for, because then our cup really gets filled up with that. So meditation would definitely be one. The other one would be gratitude, right? We walk. I know exactly what you mean when you said you walk, because I did it, and I was like, I came home, I was like, whoa, that was a little draining to see, it's painful. So at that moment, it's like, okay, wait a minute. If we connect to gratitude, believe it or not, people think of gratitude as some kind of spiritual, kind of fluffy technique. But what gratitude does is it connects with the positive aspects of your life. And when we're connecting to the positive aspects of our lives, our brain, our body is really producing lots of happy neurochemicals, right? They're producing serotonin and dopamine and all these happy hormones. And when we're stressed out, we're producing cortisol and adrenaline, and so we're getting. So those are definitely not the things that we need to be having right now when we're trying to concentrate at home, do the things that we need to do, and then deal with our children or, our families and everything else that we have to do. So gratitude is that free tool. Everybody can do it. And we can just kind of do that search of, okay, what are the things that I have right now that I can be grateful for? And then we will find so many of those things, Mark. All of us have tons of things that we can be grateful for. And then the other thing is, and I mentioned that right there on that video, was when you get one of these overwhelming, scary thoughts, right? Then we have to ask to ourselves right now, is this thought true right now, right? If I'm afraid of losing my house or not having a food on my table for my kids, what you really need to ask yourself right there is this true right now? And if you still have a house and if you still have food coming into, then it is not true right now. And then what we do at that moment is you kind of give that thought wings and just let it fly away, and then substitute it. And that's the big thing, right? To substitute it with something, because it's hard for us to not think about something. So we have to have a substitution, right? So we have to make a list, and the easiest one is a gratitude list. When we make that list of all the things that we have right now that we're grateful for, we have health, we have imagination, we have creativity, and we can use all those things to reinvent ourselves, to reinvent our families. And I'll tell you, lots of things are going to be happening out of this, because it's happening over history. You hear it, right? In World War I, in the Great Depression, just throughout history, people have reinvented themselves in these situations. We are more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. Within ourselves, we have this unlimited, incredible power that if we tap into it, we just can come up with the most amazing solutions. And I really hope and wish that that's what we are going through right now.
So I love the concentration. I think most people are like, give me, like you said, 2 or 3 tools. But the one question I have is that we're now maybe not as busy, or we're focused on other things. But what happens is we get bogged down sometimes in the negativity. And I've certainly had that happen myself. And so you talk about, replacing what's true right now with that. And so I know that's probably the hardest of the 3 of those versus meditating. The gratitude thing is great. I mean, we did that a little bit in the intro, talking about, members or businesses that we're so grateful for. And I'm trying to be more present with that too. But for folks that are listening, I imagine they might say, that's the hard one, is to not be consumed by the fact that I haven't maybe gotten my stimulus check, I couldn't pay the rent. We have folks that we know in this community who work for our businesses and are members of our chamber that paycheck that comes every 2 weeks, or the 15th and the 30th, that's everything for them. And maybe right now it's not the full paycheck, or it's not there at all. So I really appreciate that. There's wonderful apps too that you can use for meditation. And so you can be anywhere. But you said something which was very personal, and that is that, you're home with your family. Maybe there'd been a little bit of neglect, but now you're all there together. And so I'm sure you're grateful also for the opportunity to do that.
I am so grateful. You cannot imagine how many things I have found reconnecting with at this house. Because it's really incredible. Even though I've had, I really have designed the way I work and the way I live for a while. So I always think that I have a pretty okay life. This is okay. Now you have to just be there at home all the time. And then you start to find all sorts of things. And you go like, wow, I didn't know I could actually be cooking a meal every single day, right? There's some things that I do not like washing the dishes every, 3 times a day. It's like, wait a minute, it's just a few of us here. But then my daughter, oh my God, I've started to involve her in so many things, and it is so great. It is really, just doing chores, finding things to do together. I have found this in terms of the family unit to be actually very healthy.
So I love that she has 2 mental health professionals as parents, and now you're all in the same space. How's she coping with that?
That she's a teenager, right? She's 16.
Yeah. So she knows everything already.
So exactly. And then her parents are not, are her parents. They don't look at you as like somebody who really knows what they're talking about in that field. They are her parents. What do you mean? And so, but I have to give her a lot of credit, because she is really handling this whole thing very, very, very well. Very well. She has come up with these ideas of how to connect with her friends, but not, and so they do actually, I don't know what they do, FaceTime, I imagine, or I'm sure it's not Zoom, but they that she meets with, and she does a few different things, right? So she has her close friends from school, and she has her close friends from theater. And so I see her, at night playing trivia with them, FaceTime. Or one night I was hearing and they were laughing, and I went in, and so they were playing this game of name the song, where you just say a word, clients, and you have to come up with with a song. So she's having a lot. This week she's off because her school, actually the spring break is this week.
Yeah, right after Easter. Yeah. Right.
So she's off this week, and we've been enjoying ourselves so much. We've gone kayaking, they go paddleboarding, we go on bike rides. I think families are doing a lot of that we had never done before. So I definitely know that that's the silver lining to this whole situation.
Well, I'm thrilled to hear that because, on social media right now, the meme game is really strong about parents at home, kids at home, parents being teachers and having to get people hooked up to the device. And a lot of it is very humorous, but, I hope the takeaways are, one, what you're talking about, the richness of that connection, the ability to all be together and maximize this moment. But also things like, putting tremendous value on what our teachers do every day. We know that, you work with educators in schools. I mean, one of the ways we really got to know each other is we've traveled to Washington, D.C., to Tallahassee. You're an incredible advocate for mental health in our schools and our young people. It's been your passion. And I always tease you because I'm like, she gets more meetings than we do. These people, when they hear Beatriz is reaching out, they're like, well, see her. And they're like, we're waiting in the hallway. And I'm like, she goes, I have a message and, I don't give up. And I think, I see that vitality even in using your wisdom, your practice, your expertise in every setting to help us. And I think, for those that are listening, this is the great unknown in their life, and I think the big unknown is very personal, for us on the chamber side. It's like, when does it end? When can we try to talk about recovery? We don't want to talk about that too early because I don't want people making decisions based on that or putting themselves or their employees at risk. We have to kind of build back toward that. So, but the reality is that people can be at their finest right now if they're putting some of those tools into place and meditating and being grateful.
It is so true, Mark, that I have the Triumph Steps program, right? And that program has 8 steps. And like you said, I do practice, though I really practice what I preach. I practice those 8 steps, the one is a clearly identified target. So I really need to know exactly what I want in terms of my professional life, my family life, I have it clear. And when I derail, I have to get back and go back again, and look again at that clear intention, that focus, but then we talk about fear but there, the core right there, the middle talks about really affirmations, how to make affirmations work, and how to deal with fear and how to use the meditation, so the boomerang effect, what I'm doing right now with this, with this YouTube channel to really give to the community. So I work those steps to the best of my ability. I really, really practice them. And I think that's what gets me in those meetings sometimes. Not that, that it's something that, what would I say, that it's easy for me, because some of those things are not easy. But for some reason, I don't know, I looked at, let me see what's happening in my childhood when it came to authority, because I see all those people like authority, and I remember one time I had to speak in front of the Constitution Revision Commission, and I tell people that was the scariest moment of my life. I mean, I've had other personal things, but professionally, definitely the scariest moment of my life. I was like right there with these people who are up there in the days, and there are, I don't know, like 30 of them up there. And I didn't even know what I had got myself into, right? They said, okay, you want to go to this thing? I think, and I said, yes, of course. So I went, and they said, do you want to talk? And I'm like, oh, yes, I love fill out the paper. I really thought that talk meant like, if they say something and you wanted to contribute, then maybe I would raise my hand and say, no. It's actually something that you go in front of the microphone and you have to address all these people. All the people that were there were very prepared. They knew exactly what the amendment they wanted, and 2.35 says blah, blah, blah. And I was like, but you stretch, right? You stretch your comfort zone and you do what you have to do for what really is important to you. And all those things are in those 8 steps. And I really try to live them to the fullest.
Well, we are so grateful for your thoughts today. It's hard to believe that we have come to the end of our program. I think for those that are listening and for myself, knowing that you are a phone call or a Zoom call away is very comforting. You've been terrific with us. You think about us in your daily, routine, which is very, very heartwarming. These are difficult times. So for anyone who's listening, I hope that they'll take a moment and not only meditate, but be grateful for the time that we have. Make the very best of this moment. I can tell that you are. And we're going to continue to call upon you. So thank you for a great conversation and for being part of Trowbiz today.
Thank you so much, Mark. It was a really, really an awesome time to be talking to you.
Thank you, Beatriz. For all of you out there, take great comfort in the fact that we are here for you when it's time to be back open for business. We hope that we're one of your first stops. Our chamber has been here in this community for 95 years. And we have been through a world war. We have been through a great recession. We have been through countless hurricanes. This one is just the latest in those challenges that we need to address. But we will stand tall with you. So follow what Beatriz has offered. Take a moment to meditate, show gratitude, and focus on what's true right now. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Trowbiz.